I've got cancer.
No.
Yep.
Remission presenter has revealed that he has cancer in emotional scenes shown on the latest instalment of his documentary series, Clarkson's Farm.
Jeremy Clarkson nearly died twice in 8 months, and almost nobody knew. The man who spent 30 years convincing the world he was untouchable was sitting in a hospital bed looking at test results that said otherwise, not once, twice. A blocked artery that doctors said was days away from killing him. Then, 6 months later, the word nobody wants to hear, cancer. And here's the part that gets me. He had every advantage, money, access, private healthcare, regular checkups. And he still almost didn't make it. So what does that say about the rest of us? October 2024, Clarkson's on holiday in the Indian Ocean. Wine, cheese, no agenda, exactly what you'd expect. Except something was happening inside his chest that he couldn't see and couldn't feel. His legs started misbehaving. Swimming felt wrong. Coming down a flight of stairs, something he'd done on autopilot his entire life, he had to grab someone to stay upright. His body was sending signals. He poured more wine. By the time he landed back at Diddley Squat Farm in Oxfordshire, ignoring it wasn't an option anymore. Chest tightening, skin going clammy, left arm tingling. In that specific way, your brain has quietly filed under heart attack warning signs. He went to John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. The results came back. One artery carrying blood to his heart, completely blocked. Not partially, completely. A second one heading the same direction. Doctors told him he was days away from a cardiac event that almost certainly would have killed him. Not weeks, days. They put in 2 stents, 4 hours of surgery. The next morning, he went home and wrote about it in the Sunday Times. Crikey. That was close. Most people would have stopped there. Crisis found, crisis fixed, scary story with a happy ending. He didn't stop there. 6 months later, May 2025, routine checkup. The kind you're supposed to have when you're a man in your 60s who just had emergency heart surgery. They ran a PSA test, prostate-specific antigen, a simple blood draw that flags whether something in the prostate needs a closer look. His reading needed a closer look. Biopsy, tissue samples, lab results, cancer. And not the slow kind, the aggressive kind, the kind that, left alone for another year or 2, would have spread to other organs, pancreas, bladder, everywhere. The good news was they caught it early. The bad news was he needed surgery again. They operated in August 2025, removed part of the prostate. And then, because apparently one medical crisis at a time isn't how Clarkson does things, the recovery went wrong. He'd been on blood thinners for his heart, had to stop them for the cancer surgery, then restarted them without telling anyone. Complications followed, serious ones. Another hospital bed by his own admission. That was horrific, and it was all his own fault. Now here's where most people would have gone quiet. A health scare is one thing. A health scare with complications, documented on camera, shown to millions of people. That's a different decision entirely. But Clarkson's Farm has always worked on a simple premise. You see what actually happens, not the cleaned up version, not the version where everything resolves neatly, the real version. So when season 5 was being cut, the cancer stayed in. The hospital bed stayed in. The moment where he told his farm manager, Charlie, and farmhand Caleb that he had cancer and didn't know if he'd be back for another season, that stayed in. We started season 5 with me in a hospital bed. We are at the end of season 5 and I'm back in a hospital bed. Then the understatement that only Clarkson could deliver. If this is all successful, I'll see you for season 6. And if it isn't, I won't. The final 2 episodes dropped June 17th, 2026. He warned people on Instagram the day before. A difficult watch, he said. He wasn't exaggerating. What happened next is the part the headline doesn't tell you. Within days of those episodes airing, urology clinics across Britain reported a spike in appointment requests. GP surgeries were fielding calls from men asking about prostate screening. The NHS, which doesn't run a national prostate cancer screening program, was suddenly managing demand it hadn't anticipated. One man, one hospital bed, broadcast to millions. And here's what makes that significant. Clarkson isn't a doctor. He didn't make a medical argument. He didn't run a campaign. He just showed people what it actually looked like when your body is failing and you don't know it yet. He said he thought he was fine. He wasn't. The test found that out. He was glad it did. That's it. That was the whole message, and it landed harder than any public health campaign has in years. Because here's the thing most men don't want to think about. Prostate cancer has no symptoms in its early stages. Neither did Clarkson's blocked artery. These conditions don't announce themselves, they build quietly. And by the time your body does send a signal you can't ignore, you're often already in serious trouble. 1 in 8 British men will develop prostate cancer in their lifetime. Around 11,000 die from it every year, and there's no national screening program because the PSA test isn't perfect. False positives exist, unnecessary biopsies happen, slow-growing cancers sometimes get treated when they didn't need to be. All of that is true, and also true. 11,000 men a year. Clarkson has been direct about the test itself, because the reason most men avoid it isn't actually the blood draw. It's the assumption that a prostate exam means something else entirely. A digital rectal examination. The thing that makes men go quiet in conversations. Except modern PSA screening is a blood test. That's it. As invasive as checking your cholesterol. He put it simply, if your doctor won't test you because you don't have symptoms, just lie. Say you have to get up 32 times a night for a wee. Not medical advice. Just a man explaining what he wished someone had told him sooner. And then, a few days ago, the news that actually matters. A PSA test, taken 2 months earlier, came back clean. No indication of cancer. Clarkson is in remission. He said he's decided to be one of the 60% who doesn't have a recurrence. Said it the way only he can. Acknowledging the statistics, choosing optimism anyway, not performing recovery, just getting on with it. Season 6 of Clarkson's Farm is already filming, set to air summer 2027. Presumably, Caleb will give him a look. Presumably, something will go wrong with a tractor. The show will be the show, but something has genuinely shifted. Here's what's worth sitting with. Clarkson had every advantage a person can have. Money, healthcare access, doctors monitoring him closely after the first scare, and he was still days from dying without knowing it. That's not a cautionary tale about one person. That's how this works for thousands of men every year. They feel fine right up until they don't. The conditions that kill men most often are the ones that give you no warning, no pain, no obvious signs, just silence, and then suddenly it's not silent anymore and you're out of time.